but in the pursuit of good journalism. I have to ask, you brought up this Brokeback Mountain truck, but the film was filmed in 2005. Were either of you living in Fort Macleod at the time? And did you get to be an extra with Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger in the gayest cowboy love story the Prairies has ever seen?
Okay, no, but I do have two good Brokeback stories.
Yes!
Okay, this
is
is
what I'm
PG.
fishing for.
My name is Ash Thompson.
My name is Harper Hugo.
My name is Brent.
Yes, my name is Michael Fair.
Mabuhay! My name is Melinda Belga.
We are Drag Out the Love, and you're watching Queer in Alberta.
Mwah.
So welcome back to another episode of Queer in Alberta, the podcast where I chat with 2S LGBTQIA+ Albertans from all across the province. I'm your host, KELS Valenzuela Delamarter. I use she, her pronouns, and this show is filmed right here in Treaty 7 territory in the city of Lethbridge, Alberta, home of the Blackfoot Confederacy as well as the Oti-Pimswak Métis government in the Alberta District Number 1. Today, we have two extra special guests who came all the way from New York City and Vancouver to join us in the studio. Born and raised in Fort Macleod, Alberta, Josh O'Sullivan and Danny Bullock went from high school frenemies to co-founders of the wildly popular Drag Out the Love. As founding committee members of Fort Macleod Pride, they launched the show 4 years ago at the historic Empress Theatre, creating a vibrant space for queer celebration and a platform to showcase drag art. Now entering its 5th year, Drag Out the Love has become a marquee event at the Empress Theatre and a signature of the rapidly growing Fort Macleod Pride. How are you two doing? Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Oh my God.
So excited to be here.
So excited to be back in Southern Alberta with our wind and our dry prairie air. The sound of home just right there.
Yeah. My lips tell me that we are here.
I mean, literally as soon as you step off the plane, they tell you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for coming and joining me on the show. Now, you might be familiar with the fact that we start off episodes of Queer in Alberta with a fun little segment called Quickfire Queer. Quickfire Queer is a rapid-fire, fruity lightning round where I ask you 5 questions and you have 5 seconds to answer. You think you can do it?
100%.
Fruity lightning round, let's do it.
Fruity lightning. I mean,
Yeah.
who doesn't want to do that, honestly? All right, it is time for Quickfire Queer. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay,
Shoot.
I had a lot of fun with these questions. I won't lie. If Fort Macleod had a drag name, what would it be? 2, 1.
Pink Stucco.
Pink Stucco.
Stucco.
Oh my God. I'll give you
queen.
5 to challenge that if you want to.
No, that's gold.
Pink Stucco is the one. She's the number. Oh my God. What is your favorite queer anthem to blast while driving through the prairies?
It's got to be Katie Lang, Miss Chatelaine.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Is that for
or
you too?
the entire movie soundtrack of Chicago.
Chicago! There's something about the rolling hills that
Yeah.
just brings out Chicago for you. Okay, I mean, isn't Chicago the Windy City?
Yeah.
That's
Isn't-
big brain thinking over there.
That's
Thank you. Thank you. More than a
Yeah.
pretty face.
it. Little Velma.
Little Velma. Third question, which Alberta Pride event should listeners road trip to every year?
Well, that one's obvious. We got Drag Out the Love.
Drag Out the Love! I was
Get
hoping
here.
you said that. If
Hurry.
you were like Edmonton Pride, I'd be like, why did I give this to you?
And you know what? Everybody has made an amazing platform for us to start building on.
Yes, okay.
So that's incredible, but y'all, we're coming for you.
You're coming for the crown.
And come
House
to
of
us.
Tulip.
Totally.
Yes.
We represent.
Come see us.
Yes, 100%. Okay, that was the correct answer. So good. Your
Also, there were
fourth.
right answers.
Yes, yes. Just between you and I. But your fourth question is, what is the best place in Fort Macleod to host a queer dance party?
Intermission.
My
at Drag Out the Love.
That's the answer I was hoping for as well. 2 for 2 correct answers. All right, your final question, and this one is my favorite. If Fort Macleod had a queer mascot, what would it be?
Ooh, a Mountie in drag?
A Mountie in drag? I think Brooke Lynn Hytes already did that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Maybe like a Chinook Breeze.
Now, what is that costume gonna look like?
Ooh,
My
Chinook
God.
Breeze.
She's very
She's-
flowy. She has a
Yeah.
lot of chiffon.
Breezy, perhaps.
She's related to Alphaba.
Yeah, 100%. In fact, she's in part 2.
And she's holding space. Yeah.
The tornado is actually from Fort Macleod.
Okay, I'll take it. Wait, if she's Elphaba Chinook Breeze, is that her name?
Chinook Breeze.
Chinook Breeze.
Oh, a fragrance
You know
coming to the
what?
bay near
It's
you.
like Alyssa Edwards with Alyssa's Secret or whatever. Do you remember that in Drag Race?
Mhm.
Oh my God,
Alyssa's
yes.
Secret, Chinook Breeze.
Chinook Breeze.
Chinook Breeze is actually stunning.
That's our
It's so
first
good.
scent.
Oh, yes.
House
That's
of
our
Tulip
favorite.
number
House of
one.
Tulip.
Chinook Breeze.
Debuting here on Queer in Alberta, Chinook Breeze. Limited supplies, order while you can.
It's stunning.
I always smell like Chinook Breeze.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Especially after a show.
Yeah, she's potent. Okay. Well, honestly, that was
warm.
stunning. I kind of thought that you would say that you two should be queer mascot for Fort Macleod, but Chinook
that was the right
Breeze.
answer.
Chinook Breeze was better than my expectations. Yes.
Well, maybe you'll meet her at the next drag.
I mean,
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. This is somebody's drag awakening right
It's
now.
just like Power Rangers. When we come together,
Mhm.
we form Chinook Breeze.
Yes.
This is literally how we concept a show.
Oh
We
my
just, like,
God.
this is how it happens.
It's like the crystal gems. Have you seen Steven Universe?
Of course.
Yeah. So when we bind together, Chinook Breeze.
This is your final form.
Yeah.
You know, the next time somebody asks me what is it like to be queer on the prairies, I just want them to watch this Quickfire Queer with Chinook
That's it.
Breeze, with pink stucco.
It's
That's
got
it.
it's got everything.
Yeah. And one more time, please. That was too good. Yeah. We're holding space.
We're holding space.
Always.
Oh my goodness.
We're in queer media.
Literally, though,
we are.
like today, you do get to say you're in queer media.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for that Quickfire Queer. Did you have fun?
Love that.
Okay.
That's great. Can we do it
Good.
again?
I mean,
Can we actually retry?
yeah, it's for the now that you know the right answers,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But you know what? Thank you so much for making this episode happen. I feel like there was so much queer scheming between the three of us to get everybody here today. And you know, coming from New York City and Vancouver, tell me, how does it feel to be back home in Southern Alberta?
It's always a little bit of a, I don't know, like a mind game when you're back.
A mind
A mind
perhaps.
Indeed.
We get like
yes.
2 bleeps from TELUS.
Oh,
So there we
perfect.
go.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
Yeah, I think you grow up here and then you move away and you like come into your own without the pressures of home and without the relationships that you grew up
Yeah.
with. And then you come back and there's like sort of like you have to reintegrate sort of like the things that you've learned and the person that you've become with the person who you were. And so there's always a little bit of
Totally get
that. I
that.
think everybody can relate to that, but especially with small towns, it's because it just feels like a whole different world when you come back.
Absolutely. And I think like small towns and queer experiences in particular that really resonates. Because for
Mhm.
me, I feel like when I go back to my small town of Bonnyville, Alberta, it's like a whole other time capsule in life and version of myself meeting this newer person that's coming home again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we're in a time capsule for sure. Like it does feel like that, but there's also like you go home and you see some of your like besties that you had since high school who are still around, the ones who have stuck around, who have been through all of it with you and who have come to the show and who have supported Pride.
Love.
And then it's so fun to like kind of weave your new queer identity, not new queer identity, but the queer identity that you formed kind of outside of home.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
And so it's kind of fun to do that. And also to realize like, oh wait, y'all are a little bit queer. and
I mean, don't
and,
they
like,
say
you're
that we
here
flock
for it.
together, right?
Yeah.
Like even if we're not all out yet, we
Yeah.
just kind of, yeah.
For sure.
And you know, I have to ask, does distance make the heart grow fonder for leaving a place like Fort Macleod? And now both of you live in really big urban metropolis type cities.
I think for me, like I appreciate it more.
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely. When I come home.
I would say, yeah, definitely the space helps you appreciate the things that you
Mhm.
had. When you're like so close to it, it's hard to.
When you're
grasp.
actively in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can feel like pretty, like you're trapped or like the ceiling's falling in on you. But
Yeah.
then getting some space, you can definitely like appreciate the things that
For sure.
were good about your childhood or about where you came from.
For sure. And I feel like for me too, I was lucky enough to do some traveling when I was young, but I still lived in like that small town. And that was my whole experience of like understanding what the world could look like on a day-to-day basis. So when I went to university, that appreciation I think also came with this like expansion of my world and understanding that when you say like feeling trapped, there's so much more than just that small town. So it's not as bad in some ways, like not to paint a whole experience in one perspective, right? But you know what I'm trying to say.
For sure. And I think, like, for me, that I think you pinpointed what is so important about pride in a small town is to, like, offer a window to somebody who might feel like their world is so small and so closed off, and just to give them, like, a glimpse of, like, of how it can be different and how your life can look different. And that's just like so powerful.
Totally.
Yeah. And I feel like that was like the reason Fort Macleod Pride became kind of what it is today, because like we are lucky that a lot of people who are on this committee that we started all together with a lot of moms and a lot of friends from home and just people who like were queer and out, but we were never like super close. And then it was just this coming together of like perspectives from different places. I mean, we have like Paris, Vancouver, New York, and people are all over Alberta. And so it was just kind of like, wait, why don't we like pool together this knowledge and these feelings of like what else, like you said, is out there? And I think that's why it's becoming a thing that feels good and that feels representative of the things it should be representing. And also like is kind of fun. And like hopefully with our show, we want people to always be surprised, you know, and just expect the unexpected.
When we're like conceptualizing a show, we're just like nonstop texting and like, and what about this? Oh, and we could do this. And then and Josh will send me like 10-minute long voice messages, usually after they're a little bit tipsy, and just be like, I had this. It's gonna change everything.
Oh my God, you sent me a voice memo once, and I got the like insider look, and I was like, yeah,
so
these
funny.
are big plans happening.
I'm really getting into them these days. They're great. You can hear tone and texture and fun. It's great. But it was kind of like for the Under the Big Top, it was like, okay, what can we do as characters? As
this is your most recent show that you did for audience members that haven't seen it before.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the theme was circus theme, Under the Big Top.
Yes, wow, right over there.
And obviously we host the show every year, so the obvious idea was like, oh well, we're going to be the conductors.
Yes.
But we wanted it to be, play with it and have more fun, and so we were thinking like, oh, Siamese twins, like freak show kind of thing. But then we were like, we didn't want it to get like too, like we didn't want it to be offensive or like, it was like kind of maybe a fine line there with like, you know, freak show-esque type
representation,
things. And so we were just like, how can we be Siamese twins and make it drag and just make it more silly and more fun? And so then we were like, we'll be joined by our hair.
You aced it.
20 feet, hand braided.
I know. We were looking at it like, what the? It just kept coming. And I was like, okay.
And that was all real hair.
No.
Well,
I mean,
what does that mean?
Sorry.
What does that mean? Whose hair are we
Not human hair.
No.
Not human hair.
No harvesting was happening.
But it was real in the sense that it was hair that we braided together.
Wow. Not a detail missed at Drag Out the Love.
And it took a village. Yeah. We really.
It was
in
like
the
4 people handing me wefts while I braided.
Boom.
Wow.
I love it. She's very grassroots.
Yes, very.
Community focused. But you know what? I feel like we definitely need to take a second here and highlight that this is really special, all of us being here together, because you two are the first guests that I've ever had on the show representing Fort Macleod. Yes. So growing up, did you ever envision coming onto this fruity little podcast to talk about the outreach and 2S LGBTQI plus community building you're doing at home?
I mean, short answer, no.
Right.
I know. That one's a pretty easy one because same thing. I never thought I'd be doing any of this when I was in Bonnieville.
No, I mean, I didn't even see a future for myself as a openly, like, queer person who had sort of come into their own as a queer person, let alone having the ability to sort of, you know, help other people on that journey as well. So yeah, that feels really good.
I really relate to you on that because it was the same, like coming from a small community, for me, a religious home. It was not even a possibility, honestly. And so to see like 10 years later or however long it's been since first coming out, it is a really special feeling that I recognize when you speak about it.
For sure.
But sorry, you were going to say something too, Josh.
Well, I feel like it's kind of interesting because for me, if I think about that question and I think about my younger self seeing me now, me now would have terrified my younger self.
You'd be a little gagged, hey?
Yeah, I would be like,
little.
oh my God. Like, you know, in a way I feared being this open and this queer and this visible. And so I remember when I first moved to Toronto, I was like, I ended up just being there for Pride. And I was like,
it's unreal. And that's
queer
like the
overload.
biggest Pride too, right?
Yeah, and it kind of blew my mind and scared me too, because I was just like, you know, there's this moment of you're coming out or like you're accepting of yourself where you're just like, I'm one of them, but I'm not them.
Yes.
And I'm like, you're
But
figuring
I'm
out your
normal.
themism within the space, I think. And they're just like, oh, so somebody doing drag like blew my mind. Did I want to do it? Absolutely. Was I obsessed? Absolutely.
But you weren't ready to
Did I
admit that
ever
yet.
think I would be in your living room host, like in a podcast because of doing drag? Absolutely not.
No, like a total 180 split, right? Like, and even for me, like, I really appreciate you saying that, because for me, it was like an internal level of homophobia that I had to unlearn and unpack, where it's like, okay, I'm queer, but not that version of queer. When really it's like, what's wrong with that version of queer, or whatever version of queer that I am, right? It doesn't have to be palatable or cookie cutter, and it's beautiful just as it is.
I agree. It's like we're always doing the work, right? I think as queer folks, we're like constantly working on our internalized homophobia and like, oh my God, wait, where am I? Who am I? And like, how do I see the world? And it's like, I mean, it's a lifelong process, I think.
Yeah. And I think like we've maybe even talked a little bit together in the past about how like I'm so grateful for my queerness for allowing me to redefine my gender expression or the way I present myself or talk with others. I just feel so liberated and like the most free that I can be, that I didn't feel when I felt I had to be this perfect, like, straight Christian daughter, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I was never a perfect straight Christian daughter.
I don't think I was either. I was expecting us to relate on this deeply, but
I was for sure a straight Christian daughter.
Yeah.
Oh my God, twinsies. But you know what? For listeners that have never been to scenic Fort Macleod with Chinook breeze and pink stucco, let's take a moment to paint a picture here. If we were filming, say, a Visit Fort Macleod tourism video, what are some honorable highlights from this 3,000 population town on the prairies that you call home?
Okay, well, the obvious choice is the Fort Museum.
Yeah, the fort itself.
The fort.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's there.
Yeah, some deep roots in colonialism there.
Well, and there's also a UNESCO heritage site of the Buffalo Jump, which, to be honest,
Oh wait, yeah.
not like that it's not well rated, but like underrated. It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stunning. Like architecturally, that thing's amazing. It's great.
Am I
She's
wrong?
a
It's
little
not
drive
head
out.
smashed in, is it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Is it 10 minutes out?
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, you should just watch our intro video
Yeah,
to Queens of the Crop, because
Right
we
over
basically were
here.
in the back of the truck that Jake Gyllenhaal drove in Brokeback Mountain that was used for it.
Wait. You were in the back of the truck?
The truck.
Brokeback truck.
Oh my God.
Yes.
This is actually one of my upcoming questions. Thank you. You're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yes. So we kind of toured through town, and it was this intro video for Queens of the Crop because we're in the Empress Theater. It's a movie theater. It's stunning. And it's like, maybe we do a short film.
The Empress is
Yes.
probably the crowning jewel of Fort
100%.
Macleod.
I just
would say.
watched the recent Ghostbusters remake they did, and they like rip through Fort Macleod chasing a ghost, and then there's the Empress Theater in the shot. And I was like,
Yes.
actually, I was there for Drag Out the Love. Thank you.
Listen, it's
A lot of movies have been filmed at Fort Macleod.
So many.
Interstellar, RB, what's the new one?
Brokeback Mountain, Passchendaele.
The Last of Us.
The
was
Last
just
of
filmed
Us.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So proud of
Lots.
that one.
Yes. And you know what? That actually is literally my next question, because the internet has a different name for Fort Macleod. A quick Google search will tell you
Oh.
this, and it's related to what we're talking about. Can you guess what this other name for your hometown is?
What were you going to say?
Little Hollywood.
You're
Ooh,
close.
really?
You're really,
Stop.
really close. It's actually Hollywood North because of how many movies and films.
Go off.
Yeah.
Go off. Fort
Where
Macleod.
is the branding on this? Town of Fort
You need to put
Macleod.
it on
Like,
something for House
yes,
of Tulip
capitalize
from
on
Hollywood
this.
North.
this is so good.
Mhm.
Hollywood North is also like feels like Brooke Lynn Hytes' evil stepsister.
Hollywood
Because she
North?
tells herself she's the queen of the North.
Yeah.
Right.
Not tells herself,
While
but
she pushes on that
I mean, she kind of tells herself.
in the mirror right before.
Hollywood North is coming for
Yeah.
you, girl.
Yeah, and
So
Chinook
good.
Breeze.
Yeah.
And
She's
she-
actually
They're a
adding
drag
on.
family.
Oh my god, that's so funny. But you know what? Can you guess how many films have actually been filmed in Fort Macleod? It's a pretty decent
Like-
number.
Series and films and
I have a number for films. I don't have a number for series.
Ooh.
We got double digits here.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
16,
24.
A little lower in between the two of you.
18,
One more.
7,
Wrong
19?
19.
Oh.
19 films, including the ones that you talked about, the Ghostbusters movie. There's so much that's happened in Little Fort Macleod, including
Fargo.
Drag Out the Love.
Yeah, Drag Out the Love.
Mhm.
Fargo was there too.
Oh,
That's
right,
one I just
Fargo.
thought of.
Yes.
They like
Yes.
transformed the whole main street for that one. It was
Stunning.
pretty
They do
cool.
that a lot though.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
I know a girl wanted to take me on a date when I was single and they had just like done a bunch of filming in Fort Macleod. She was like, let's go look at the movie set. We didn't go.
Wait, I love that. That's like
That's
that's
romance.
a really cute
Romance.
date idea, and also I love that that is what Fort Macleod is. Like that's so cute.
Right?
It's a queer hotspot.
Just a little bit. But in the pursuit of good journalism, I have to ask, you brought up this Brokeback Mountain truck, but the film was filmed in 2005. Were either of you living in Fort Macleod at the time? And did you get to be an extra with Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger in the gayest cowboy love story the Prairies has ever seen?
Okay, no, but I do have 2 good Brokeback stories.
Yes!
Okay, this
That's
is
what I'm
PG.
fishing for. Hook, line, and sinker.
Okay, the first one is really funny because there's like a prominent Mormon family in Fort Macleod
Oh, do go on.
who auditioned to be extras in the show, not knowing what it was. And the whole family got in, and then they did like all of these scenes. They're in like the picnic scene, like the fireworks scene or whatever.
Right.
And then when the movie came out, they were like a little bit horrified because they were like, "Oh my god, this is a gay
It's a
love
gay.
story, and we were in it," which is just like really funny to me.
My Aunt Gloria was also on a picnic blanket, and my cousin Sarah was in it. It's
Oh,
like
really?
it's
In the
kind of crazy.
movie?
Yeah,
The whole town was in it.
The whole town was in it.
Oh my God.
Wait, what was
I
number
love-
2?
Oh, but the second story is I was in high school when I was working at the Empress.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Okay.
and I snuck out to go to the premiere. Yeah, and
Stop.
I wore my remember when like those seatbelt buckle like
yes.
like
of course.
belts were like a big thing.
I think my
And
brother.
for some
had, like,
reason I
30
just
of
like thought
them.
that was so gay. But well, this
was.
this one was
It was.
like had like a rainbow strap, and then it was like
Work.
a seatbelt buckle, and so I was like, oh,
Safety first.
I never had a reason to wear it, but I was like, Brokeback Mountain, this is it.
This is.
So I
the
wore my
time.
rainbow seatbelt buckle, and I snuck out, and I went to the theater, but I was too scared to like have people in the community like see me there. So I went like a little bit after it started, and I
Right.
had keys, so I snuck in, and
This is
then
so good.
I watched the show from the lighting booth so that nobody knew I was there, and then I snuck out afterwards.
Oh my God, you were giving
Mm.
such great life advice to closeted queer teens in like small town Alberta everywhere
Mhm.
right now.
Lighting booth.
Lighting
Yeah,
booth.
That's where the magic
Booth.
happens.
And you
There
have
you
to
go.
have your little seatbelt.
You do.
Yeah, safety first.
That's
Yeah,
so
and I didn't even
good.
show up because I was too scared. I was like, or I was at a volleyball tournament or something. No, I think that was my excuse. But
very masked.
yeah, I was just like, I am dying to go. This was also like queer as folk era.
Yeah.
Like my like queer awakening was happening, and I knew I wanted to go so badly, but it was just like, I can't go and be seen. And I think my parents went, and a lot of people went because it was such a big deal.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was such a big deal in our town, and I didn't go. Regret. But then I was in drag in the back of Jake's truck.
That is full circle moment.
Redemption.
Nature is
moment.
healing.
You really said, "Here, inner child, I will
Yes.
give you this
This is my
moment
gift
back."
to you.
Yeah.
This is for us. Yeah. No, that's so funny. I actually did not expect to hear such good stories about it. Like, this blew my expectations.
yes.
Blew my expectations. So, Josh and Danny, for listeners and viewers that have maybe never heard of Drag Out the Love before, can you give me a quick snapshot of what this annual show is like?
Yeah, for sure. First and foremost, it like started out as a pride event. So it's like best certainly like a community event. We have people
Mhm.
from all walks of life, people, I mean, especially now that we're in our 4th year, like people travel to come to the show from all over Alberta.
Mhm.
It really feels like an event. It's at the Empress Theatre, the Jewel of Fort
Gorge.
Macleod. If you've never been, I mean, this is the perfect excuse. It's like
Yes.
such a stunning old little theater. And then, yeah, we have drag performers from all over Alberta come. So we really pride ourselves in showcasing sort of like what Alberta has to offer.
Mhm.
We have people from Edmonton, Calgary, Lethbridge, just like all over.
Sterling.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we like to think that we have like a pretty diverse cast. We try to get a little bit of everything, people who are maybe a little bit more beginner, and then also like some of the best drag in Alberta is at
Yeah.
our show
So
every year
cool.
for sure.
It is.
We have a pretty long-standing relationship with Party Queens from Edmonton.
Mhm.
So shout out to Gemini
Yes.
and the Party Queens.
Yeah.
Gemini has been integral in the development and of our show and just always comes through for us. They are amazing.
Always.
Mhm.
Always.
Yeah.
And Audrina, LaDonna, like you name it, they
Mhm.
were all there
Artesia.
in the beginning.
Mhm.
Artesia, they were all
Yeah.
there in the beginning, and just like, you can like, it's hard to do this show. Number one, because we're giving high production value, so there's group numbers, and there
Mhm.
is a lot happening,
Mhm.
and that all happens on the spot. Like
So
Yeah.
you're not getting a rehearsed show.
You guys plan it like the day of, don't
Yeah,
you?
well, we like put a lot of effort into the plan of like, this is how we would like it to go down.
Yeah.
Right. In a perfect world, this is the
And
vision.
we really like to have a through line. And so we
Always.
kind of like try to give queens like not parameters, but like a storyline
Yeah.
to kind of work their number into,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
it just like makes the show feel more alive to have something that feels like it's going somewhere
And cohesive.
yeah,
Yeah.
as opposed to just like random drag numbers.
And also, there's this image in my head of the Party Queens literally prancing from their motel room
Literally tumbleweeds in the
straight
background.
down Main Street because it gets blocked off for our show.
So cool.
And like,
Yeah.
kind of incredible.
Is that kind of moment like they block it off for us?
Yes.
For we.
Yeah, and that's been a new thing as well, and that happened out of necessity and caution.
Right.
But it's kind of amazing. Like, queer takeover of Main Street Fort Macleod. Come on.
I am here
What's more
for
iconic?
it.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think it's pushing it to say that by the end of the episode, my audience will be convinced that Drag Out the Love is the spot to hit this Pride season?
I mean, obviously.
Sell it.
Yes.
Sell it.
It's so good.
100%.
Yes.
I think it's a very maybe different drag experience than you've had at other drag shows.
Mhm. And what would make you say it's different?
I think that like if you're somebody who's into drag, you seek out drag normally at like a bar.
Yeah.
It's a very like queer space.
Club culture.
Club culture is very big for drag, and I feel like this like even though I feel like RuPaul's Drag Race has sort of come into the into the mainstream
yeah.
and made drag very like mainstream in that way, but I feel like the audience here is still in some ways like very new to drag.
Totally
And so
agree.
the excitement at these shows is just it's different. It's like everybody's first experience.
Yeah.
And just because of the venue, and I feel like I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, what does make this show like special?
Mhm.
And I think there's like with any, especially in small towns, I feel like it's very like the community is very polarized because like you see everybody every day at the grocery store, like
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
church, and like it's like you're so wrapped up in everybody's lives, and I think it creates sort of two things. It creates like this very strong sense of community,
Mhm.
and like support and like lovely things, and like but then it also creates like a little bit of this like poisonous side where it's like there's like gossip
Us
and
versus them a
us
little
versus
bit.
them.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people in small communities who would come out and support and show support, but they're scared to.
Mhm.
Like even when we started doing Pride and people would like donate to Pride, and then they would be like boycotted by certain
Yeah.
groups in the community
Yeah.
because
that's real.
they were like kind of out as an ally, I guess. And so I think the show has just like really offered this opportunity for people to show up and show out in this like very safe space. And it's just been so cool to see not only all the people that you would expect there, but like a whole bunch of people that you didn't expect to see there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, it's been really cool. And I think the fact that it's at the Empress, which is sort of this staple in our community that has people trust the Empress in a way to like give them like really quality shows and to also be a place where we connect as a community.
Cool.
And so the fact that it's there, it's just like, oh, this is a community event that we go to kind of thing.
Yeah,
Does
and
that
speaking of
sort
that
of
trust,
like ring true to what you feel like?
totally. And that like trust factor is so big. And I think we're like, as you can tell by like even this set today, like we love attention to
You've taken
detail.
over my set, and I'm
We
here
do.
for it.
We're all about branding.
Yes.
We are, and we love that
Hollywood
like
North,
the
get on
audience
it.
puts their trust in us to take them on a journey. And you said you used the word production, and like that's not often what drag gets.
Yes.
And so we are really proud of the fact that we give you a main stage. We give you light, we give you sound, we give you props. What do you want? I don't care if your number is 10 minutes. Guilty. Multiple times.
Every year.
It may be me, I fear.
I want to take you on a journey, babe. And so it's like, I hope that what our show does is not only has a through line and a story, so folks feel like somebody came up to me on the stage after the show this year and they were like, you all consistently bring Broadway to Fort Macleod.
Love that.
And that like makes me like emotional because it's like that.
Right?
Yes, that's the goal. And we want to give you the highest production value show possible, but drag doesn't always get that space, right? So I think that our show is unique in the fact that we give you production, we give you a main stage, and hopefully a space to like dream up something that you weren't able to in like typical drag formats or like spaces. And then with that trust also, Margaret Ann Bianco and John Wart Hannum with the theater have like always given us anything and everything we need and helped us to like actually make this show what it was. Because speaking of that pushback and those boycotts and everything, I mean, people were like heading to the theater to protest our show that one year. And there was actually some hate crimes and the theater got damaged and didn't stop the show, didn't stomp on our joy. But, you know, every single year, those people who trust us with the space give it to us willingly, knowing that what we're going to create out of that, no matter what the pushback is, no matter what people say outside or if they boycott, it doesn't matter because we're creating this environment that hopefully people like take that energy with them, and they totally do. The crowd is insane at our show.
Oh, 100%. Like it was energy to the rafters in there when
and
I
we've
went.
always had like all our drag performers comment on the energy. That it's just like
that's
it
sweet.
feels so.
Yeah.
And I think the momentum that the show has built of just being like this one of a kind event that people kind of mark in their calendars and look forward to is really cool to offer that to drag performers too, because I feel like a lot of drag performers don't get that, and offering them like something that feels a little bit more high stakes and a little bit bigger, than they like really rise to the occasion. And so you have like, you know, just like little performers just like putting on a show that you're like
Incredible.
They just like brought that up, you know, they really like upped their game, you know, stepped their
Yes.
pussies up. So.
Every year somebody like everybody is just like, we're like hosting on the sidelines and we're like,
Yeah.
Well, that was
what?
me when you did a backflip in heels. I was like, did everybody see that? Did we all witness
Well, she's
this?
getting older and had to recover a little bit.
And that-
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that wasn't planned either.
So
Nothing.
just in the moment, you were like,
He was like, I'm
done.
just gonna do it.
Just gonna do it.
And I was watching on the sidelines, and I literally, my job was like,
Well, yeah. I think the whole theater.
know that was in your arsenal.
We didn't. Well, we didn't either.
Oh
So.
my God.
But everything,
Risque.
we're always planning our shows so much, I think, and like putting a lot of effort into it, coming up with our cast, and like now it's getting to a point where like people want to be in the show, and that's amazing. Please be in our show. We want to
Yes.
give you that space. But it's like
There's gonna be auditions though. No, just kidding.
it
no
could be a
auditions.
theme. We'll see. But like
You're looking for the
it's-
next Chinook breeze.
Yes, actually, that's it. The search
will.
for.
Yeah.
So it's
Love
kind of
that.
like we don't get time to think about our own numbers, really. Like we come up with our concept for the show.
Yeah.
everybody is always adhering to that concept in different ways and their interpretations. But like, then we're like, oh shit, I didn't practice anything.
Rock and roll, let's go.
Yeah.
Backflip in 3, 2, 1.
So that would be a dream to like maybe have a little time. Choreography would
If
be
we have
amazing.
any choreographers out there,
choreographers, dancers, I would love
lighting
a group member.
technicians, we need a.
This is the active call
We
to
do.
action right
Yeah,
now.
it really
They
is.
are seeking
Yeah.
an audience.
We
Yeah.
really are, because any help, it takes a village. I mean, like my mom, my sister was painting our boots and like
Mhm.
Which I love that.
it
love-
really is a village.
really
my aunt and
fun.
uncle
It's
and
fun to
Danny's
see the people
family.
who come out of the woodwork to like, I can do this. Like, I
Yeah.
can do this. Or the one year that we had like the flower bouquets on our heads.
Oh my God, yeah.
The
And my poor husband is
production.
running around with like wigs and flowers and all this stuff. And he's like getting us pizza because we haven't eaten all day.
Right.
And it's crazy. My cousin Sarah's like dressing us, like literally those first few years, hiking my into tights because like I didn't realize like
Mhm.
this corset's really not allowing
She's a
me
corset.
to move anywhere.
That's kind of her deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's her.
So
whole
it's been a
purpose.
journey of like drag evolution personally as well. Like Danny literally created who I am basically. Like she was always in there, but he made her real, you know,
Yeah.
and it takes a village to make her real.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, not drag daughter, but drag sister with
Stepsister.
Surrogate.
surrogate. There
Yeah.
you go. It was a surrogacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Divine surrogacy. Oh my God. But you know,
That is the theme. Your
For next
divine
year,
surrogacy.
divine from big top to divine surrogacy. We are ambitious. And you know, in conversation with the two of you, it is so absolutely clear that you carry such a love for Fort Macleod and this place. But from what you both shared about your respective journeys growing up there, I can't help but wonder if it maybe didn't always start off that way. So how did we get to closing down Main Street for Drag Out the Love and striving to create safe and fun spaces for queer community in a place that maybe didn't accept queerness the same way when you were younger?
Like for me, I grew up Mormon. I grew up religious, and yeah, it definitely wasn't the easiest place to grow up.
Mhm.
But I think the community maybe was always there,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think that's been the most sort of eye-opening thing about Pride in Fort Macleod in general is just like having this sort of 180 moment of being like, oh, like this community was here when I was growing up, but I was just in such a bubble that I didn't
Yeah.
have access to it.
Mhm.
And so that was like a very like interesting thing too to realize that, and it was a little bit of like a childhood like perspective switch of being like, and I think that's why Pride is just so important, is just to be like, there's these people who feel trapped in these bubbles and these places where they're so limited in terms of the access of thoughts and ideas that they have access to, and then just to provide like this tiny little insight into how things can look and feel different, and yeah, it's very liberating for those. So
Totally.
I mean, that was the goal behind Pride. And I think Josh and I's relationship is just like a good example of that. Is like
Right. Yeah.
we were,
Frenemies, as you
yeah,
said.
like we both we were both queer growing up, but we were from such different experiences. Like I was in this little Mormon bubble,
Yeah.
and Josh had a family that was very like, how would you describe it?
Pretty like masculine, traditional gender
Hyper
roles.
masculine,
Yeah.
hockey, boxing.
Yes.
Very
You did it all.
butch.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was like,
Butch down.
well, and like very butch down.
Which is interesting too,
Yeah.
because I mean, Josh likes to say I was out, but I think I wasn't actually out in the sense that I was like comfortable saying I was gay,
Mm.
but I just like couldn't hide it.
Right.
I was just not
right.
good at acting straight.
Yeah.
And so I think everybody just knew that
Yeah.
I was gay.
Kind of clocked it, right?
And I was like, well, can't really deny it. So
Mhm.
I guess I'm out.
Yeah.
I
And I mean,
guess,
yeah.
I guess that's how that works.
Yeah, I
You know,
guess
and
it's like,
I
you
was jealous of him because of that. And also, I like to think that I was hiding it well, but girl, it was not happening.
What do you think? Was it
Thinking
happening or
back-
no?
No, it was pretty obvious.
Yeah. And like, I knew that he knew that I knew that I was gay.
Yes.
But like, there was this always unspoken thing. And so we were like, it wasn't that we disliked each other. It was that like kind of like that internalized homophobia. Like we
Right.
were each other.
Mhm.
And that was kind of
Yeah.
terrifying in a way too.
Totally. It was
and
like
not ready for it to be
it was
out there.
almost like a mirror of
Yeah.
like self-hate a little bit.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy.
And even crazier, in my opinion, that look at you now, right? Like coming from that place of a mirror of self-hate to putting on this production together and like being so openly queer in your friendship, all of it. It's such a journey.
Yeah. I mean, thanks to social media, we like kept in touch over the years. And like, not that we were like estranged, but we weren't like
Yeah.
besties or super close. And then we reconnected at our high school reunion. And it was just like, boom,
Yeah.
here we are, besties for life.
Once again, holding
God.
space.
Yeah. And it just felt so normal and natural and right. Like, because there was so much maybe like unpacking to do together.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And like,
There really was. I think, yeah, we just like we've touched on this before, but you go off into your separate cities and you don't have the
Yes.
influences that you had in your small town, and you can be whoever you want to be, and you can kind of recreate yourself. And then to come
Mhm.
back into that space where everybody knows you and has a particular idea of who you are.
yeah.
And it was, the high school reunion was like a really like key moment for me of being like, kind of like testing out this new person that I was on
Mhm.
people that I wasn't sure how they were going to react to that
Right.
part of me.
Was that like, I can
And
imagine
then
it was intimidating.
being fully embraced and
Yeah.
like, it was so much fun. We had so much fun together, and it was just like, it felt like coming home, but it felt like coming home in like a very authentic way. And it was
Yeah.
just like, it was blast. We got so drunk.
Oh my God. Thanks
Well,
to my
and that's
cousin
like-
for supplying the wine.
I was gonna say you have some stories about after you had a couple glasses of wine at this reunion and perhaps confessing to a crush.
Oh my God. Well, yes. And actually, I was telling Danny this on the way up here today. Like, we all have our crushes, and I had many over the years, especially those volleyball boys out at those tournaments.
Spike.
Yeah,
set.
there were some stunning men.
Go
Yes.
sports.
Yeah.
And I ended up having a lot of wine at that
As wine
event
does.
where we were fully embraced. It was that moment where like, where you didn't realize that you were the life of the party, but then the whole party is around you. Keep in mind, it's like 18 people,
Yes.
our graduating class.
Sick party.
But it was a sick party. We were all in a good space. And also like we were both very out by then.
yeah.
And it wasn't like a coming out for us, but it was like I don't know. It just felt so good. And so I'm, give me some wine, and I'm having some chats, and I'm explaining to my crush and his wife, who's sitting next
Which is
to
the
him,
best part.
how deep those roots were.
What did he even
You
say
know?
to you? Like,
I mean, that was one of the greatest things actually about him, was like, it was so light, and it just felt, I mean, also he knew, like
He
this
was
was no secret
aware.
because
yeah.
back,
you're not surprised at all.
yeah.
This has long tendrils.
That's why I used the word roots, because it felt like the tendrils were long,
Yeah.
y'all.
Set the scene.
Yeah. And so actually one time in like, we couldn't decide if it was like sixth
It
or
was
seventh grade.
Okay,
Six.
take it
because
back.
like I'm thinking about the image of this really traumatizing moment
Oh my God.
in my
okay.
life. And so he said, I'm going to bring you back something from Hawaii, because his
Your
family was
crush.
going, yes, his
Okay,
family
okay.
was going to Hawaii for the holidays. And I was like, this is,
Love.
yeah, I
This
was
is
like,
the
this is it.
moment.
Finally.
This is it.
Whitney
They're
Houston in the
super
Here we go.
background.
I don't know
like,
what it is or looks like or how I do it, but this is it.
Hawaii.
Yeah. And so I made my mom go to Jose's in Lethbridge, which
Yes.
was like my heart.
Okay.
And we handpicked every damn bead to this necklace that I made him. Every single one.
this
it was
is straight behavior right here.
yeah. Yeah. I was very
Catalog.
straight passing. And I even made the cord like for the necklace was out of metal. So it
Shut
would never
up.
break. He better still have it. And it was beautiful. And so we're at the end of the hallway. There's like this pot light above us. It's gorgeous. And the bell had rang, so
I'm
everybody was
there.
in there. Yeah, are you with me on
I'm
this?
here.
And everybody had like gone into their classrooms. Maybe this was just also like a little bit of delusion.
Partly in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I we're at the top of the
Angels were
hill.
singing.
Yeah, angels were singing. And I was like, I pulled out this perfectly wrapped, adorable little
I'm gonna
package.
start crying.
And I was
Little
about
mushy
yeah, and
gray
I was like,
heart.
here you go.
Circa
And we're like
grade
looking at each
6.
other. And he digs deeply into his pockets and just yanks out like piles of like,
Dirt.
just like tourism. Like there's a basket over there full of the necklaces and bracelets and all this stuff.
Yes.
And he's like,
Keychains.
pick one. And I was like,
Soul crushing. You picked every bead by
Every
hand for him
goddamn
to give you a
bead.
crumpled sticker that says Oahu.
yeah. And did I take it? Probably.
Yeah.
And it's somewhere at my house, but
Probably on
no.
the bedside dresser.
And so I think I kind of even hinted at that story when I was 10 years later
Pick
telling
one.
his wife. But like the beautiful thing about that is like there are some people, again, in your hometown who you're like, I mean, especially the ones who are like super mask and like
Yeah.
these guys who are so broy and no homo and all this stuff. And it's just like, he has always been such an ally. He's in fact been a part of like making Pride happen for us and helping us like get all these permits and all this stuff. Like so wonderful. And so that's how you be an ally. You know, that's how you
Yes.
continue this thing. Like we all had crushes. Like it doesn't matter if they were gay or straight or queer. Like we all had them. And so for him to like take that and also his wife and be like,
her too.
this is
She
adorable
was there.
and such a cute story. And
Yeah.
like to move forward in a way that's just like respectful and like, this is just human.
You know, I'm listening to you and I'm loving the takeaway here, but I'm really stuck on the fact that you like handmade this necklace and he literally reached into his pocket and pulled out some lint and like a little thing for you. But also it just makes me think of like every straight woman that complains about a man or is like, wow, this guy is so great because he said hi to me and like asked how my day was on our date. And I'm like, if he wanted to, he would.
Exactly.
Like gays are out here making necklaces. Sarah's making everything in this house. Like the bar is on the floor. Diva.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that hard,
I'm
babe.
blown away. Take notes. I think one thing that has always really stood out to me about the story that you two have here with Drag Out the Love and your own experiences is that redefining that experience in Fort Macleod and
Yeah.
realizing, as you say, Danny, especially like maybe I wasn't ready to be queer here, but these people had the capacity to be here for me when I was. I think that is so special and something that for me, like, I can't really envision doing the same thing in Bonnieville because it's still such a closed door, that part of my life. And I think a lot of queer people from small communities probably hearing this, it's going to make us think about things a little differently and maybe giving people opportunities to prove you wrong.
Sure.
That's so
I think-
right.
Yeah. Like, I do think you do have to give people opportunity to prove you wrong. You also have to protect yourself too.
Yeah.
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 So, I mean, if you're ready, then, you know, that's great. If you're not ready, that's totally fine too.
Yeah.
And also don't put yourself in a dangerous situation if, you know,
Yes.
in like a small town, there is still a lot of hate and we have a long ways to go for sure. So like, I
Absolutely.
wouldn't
Yeah.
want to like falsely inspire you to like come out to like the town bigot, but
Yeah. Disclaimer.
yeah.
Judgment.
But that being said, there's always people that maybe that you don't know about or expect that are doing the work and that
Yeah.
are more open and loving than you think.
Yes. Yes. Is
Yeah.
there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that was like perfectly said. And like shout out to the town of Fort Macleod and the queers and the allies and everybody because like
100%.
to take this thing that was kind of just this pipe dream that was born out of an idea, let's grow this thing if we can. And people show up and they don't even just like show up and then go home. They're like they're volunteering, they're bringing their trucks, they're building stages, they're doing everything. And they're also like putting themselves out there in a way that, like Danny just said, like protect yourself, of course, but there's people who are like willing to be there for you. And so for like the young queers out there who want to come to Fort Macleod or
Yeah.
want to come to the Empress Theater, like I
Uh-huh.
didn't show up for Brokeback Mountain, you can show up to our show because it is a
Yes.
safe space, and you can show up to Pride in the Park.
Yeah.
And I hope that it only like grows and builds and builds, and kids and people feel safe to like come to that space.
Yes.
And it has been a really we've had people reach out to us afterwards and we're like, the show gave us like the courage to like come out to
Yeah.
my parents.
Which cry every time.
Every time.
Like,
Mhm. So
Every
like,
time.
and we've had like little stories like that every year. and it's
Yeah.
just, like,
Every
so-
year. Or like
fun.
people coming up to us in the park who wanted to apologize for like the
Oh,
way
yeah.
that they treated us.
which is
high
school. In high school.
huge.
Like,
Mhm.
again, like speaking about like growth and like
Yeah.
being allies and stuff, like you can be somebody who like wasn't the best person, but also like we also get that you like us didn't know what the hell we were or
Yeah.
who we were or where we were.
And that it's a different life now.
Yeah.
You've had so much time to change and grow.
Yeah.
Like as us as individuals, it's the same for those people that we knew in those
Mm-hmm.
spaces, which I think sometimes we often forget.
We do.
Yeah, this is one thing I was talking about just with a friend the other day is like, it took me so long to come to terms with my own queerness
Yeah,
and to
yeah.
like just like figure all of that out and to make space for that. And then I would be upset at people who didn't get it or
Mm,
didn't know how to.
like right away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like, okay, like, yes, everybody, like you should expect a lot of people.
I get what you're saying.
But
yeah.
also we have to give people space to grow and learn.
Yeah.
And
I think
it's not
yeah.
always our responsibility to teach them, but you also have to give them the space to do that work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all three of us relate to that so strongly. And it makes me think of like maybe that is because we come from these smaller communities and have those relationships with people where there's so much love there, but maybe not the exposure to queer identities. So
Yeah.
just as you say, we have to learn about it ourselves and do that unpacking. It's an introduction to, say, my mother and father, right? So even though for a long time I was really frustrated, I've now come to that place too of like, well, it's a learning curve for them too, and they're doing the
Yeah.
best with the tools that they have to try and meet me where I am. And really, can I ask for more than that from my parents?
No.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
also like we are putting in some work, and like I love that you just said it's not always our responsibility, right? It shouldn't
Yes.
fall on the people who are feeling the disenfranchisement and like feeling the
Mhm.
pain and going through the thing
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
living that experience.
to advocate and
But sometimes we, in working through that, are the ones with the tools,
yes,
And so if we can pass those tools on in a way that feels good,
Yeah.
Mhm.
totally willing and able, and hope that you take those tools and do something with them.
Yes, and I love that for you two, the tools are queer joy. It's community and collective experience. Like that is such a powerful way to bring people together. And I'm
Mhm.
so happy that you came onto this show to talk about this work and that you're continuing to break new ground here in Southern Alberta for these communities.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Mhm.
so
That, like,
much.
A little moment. Are we all a little blushing over
Yeah.
here? But you know what? This is the last question for the episode. What is your favorite thing about being queer in Alberta? Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's hard.
That was a big gasp, like a
We
big
should have
moment.
prepared this one.
Right?
For those
I-
listening and not watching, the panic over here as they try to think, it's pretty good.
My favorite thing about being queer in Alberta, I think just that you can surprise people with your stories.
Yes.
And where you come from.
Mhm.
People don't get it. And you can be like, yeah, I grew up here.
Yeah.
But usually they don't get it for the wrong reasons,
Mm.
which I think is like kind of fits into the whole everything we've been talking about. It's like people are like, oh, like was that hard? And like,
Every time.
yeah, they're like,
How did you
"Oh, whoa, how did you
survive?"
get through it? And yeah, of course it was fucking hard.
Yep.
But there's also like some really cool things about growing up in Alberta.
Like
queer.
quadding
Quadding.
in the corn kernels.
Speaking out to Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there is a little queer community here, and it's like a very like tight knit queer community,
Mhm. Yep.
and that's fun.
I love that. What about for you, Josh?
Yeah, I think like part of it is still to be told,
Mhm.
like Isabeau and Brazen are still like
Yes, your drag alter
evolving.
egos.
Yeah, exactly. And I
Sure.
think like my queerness has evolved and is evolving, and I don't know who she's gonna be in 5, 10, 20 years. But I think that's been the beauty of like being able to do that in a space where it's safe to do that.
Yeah.
And that's just like giving like praise to the people around us. Like, and people are always like, how did 18 people in your graduating class? Like, that's insane. What did you do? And it's like, but it's kind of amazing, you know, that we had those people, and we still literally have those people around us in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's like,
I think that was another thing about coming back to the 10-year reunion, is like how intimately I knew people.
Crazy, even
you
after
know?
that long away.
Because so many people, they're in grad classes of like, what, 600, 1,000 people?
Wild.
And it's like, there was 18 of us. And
One
even,
eight.
even if I hadn't talked to them since high school, when we were in the same room again, it was like, I know this person so well.
That's so
like their
wild.
mannerisms, the way, just like little things that they said. I was like, where else do you get that?
no.
Nowhere, I
know?
fear.
So
Yeah,
was,
it's almost like you don't have to catch up, because like just like scroll through Instagram once, you're already there. You know, it's so like so we know where everybody kind of is,
mhm.
but it's really nice to like come back to that and like to have family. And even our families have evolved into not like accepting us as this or our show, but like they've been like evolving with us on this journey. And I think that's been really cool and like gives me such great pride. Number one, I'm like proud of them for
I get that.
giving us this space and like creating spaces for us to be who we are. But also like I'm proud of like the work that they put in too. And I watch my grandma come over to watch Drag Race every Saturday morning.
Of course she
all the
does.
She knows
queens.
all the queens, and she's like literally getting her queer education through like this and that. And it's amazing that people are doing the work and actually will do the work.
I love that. I love that so much. And I think it ties back again to like giving people the opportunity to get to know you and love you in full. And it might not happen overnight, but same thing with my parents. Like, I'm so grateful for, even when I feel frustrated or disappointed that things aren't at a certain point that I envision them that they should be today, like, look how far they have come since day one. And doesn't that make me feel so absolutely loved?
So cool.
Yeah.
Well, just the fact that Brazen and Isabeau were born in Fort Macleod,
Fort Macleod.
opposed to like Vancouver and New York, where like you would think that would like be the place where you would
Right?
birth your drag like
You said I'm gonna
persona.
put that on its
But
head,
no, we came
Eva.
back home to do it.
Yeah.
That
Which
like,
is, like,
speaks volumes.
kinda cool.
Yeah.
I love
And like,
it.
you know, my Mormon mother and my Mormon sisters and brother, like, well, my brother is not practicing anymore, but like my Mormon family showing up
Yes.
to the drag show and I think having a hard time with it, but still there and working through some of that stuff
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
pretty cool. And
Yes.
like that, like me and my mom have had a lot of conversations about that, the drag show, because of that.
Yeah.
And so like the fact that it sparked a lot of conversation and just ability to move through certain things. And obviously like there's still a lot of things to unpack with that. And I'm not always in a space where I'm able to talk about it.
Right.
But just the fact that we've had some of those conversations and we've created a little bit more space for that is like so cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it reminds me of something that a guest had shared on this season of the show previously about how when we're learning, when we're uncomfortable, it doesn't necessarily translate to unsafe. And actually sitting in that discomfort is the best place, because then you think about things differently and you learn. So I think one of the biggest reasons I wanted to bring you two onto the show today was to show that maybe the show Drag Out the Love, when it was first starting, was uncomfortable for people in Fort Macleod.
It was.
But they learned from it and they grew. And in a time when we're seeing really scary things happening at home here with our government, targeting trans youth, trans folks, and queer performers, queer people in general, I think it's so powerful to say, hey, it's not perfect, but look at what is happening in Fort Macleod. 3,000 population town, probably pretty conservative, isolated, but they are showing up and dragging out the love.
Yes, we are.
They really, really are.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody's going to want to come and be a part of it this summer. Do you have a date yet for Drag Out the Love 2025?
Usually the last weekend in August.
Okay, so everybody keep an eye out on your calendar
Do.
for the last weekend in August. It's going to be a show-stopping moment for sure. What was the name? Surrogate something? It's not going to be called
It's
that.
not. Don't worry. It's not.
But you'll remember.
We're
You'll
gonna workshop
remember.
that one.
Yeah, that one's
Sister
going to
surrogate.
get redacted. Scratch it out.
That's amazing. Mother surrogate, sister surrogate.
Oh my gosh. Well, my friends, why don't you look into this camera over here and let the people know where they can follow you or stay posted on everything Fort Macleod Pride, Drag Out the Love, or anything else you want to share.
Where can they follow?
Well, yeah, at Fort Macleod Pride.
Yeah.
Also, you can just reach out to us directly at Josh O'Sullivan.
My Instagram is dsnow_.
And
dsnow_.
Instagram for you too, Josh, right?
At she.is.brazen, but it's probably quicker to come to me.
Yeah. Yeah, mine's Isabeau.leon, but she's never updated.
Yeah, follow.
She's a once a year queen.
Yeah.
Dust it off.
Follow at Fort Macleod Pride, and we will absolutely get back to you. And also, you can find all the updates there.
Yes. And if we have any artists or graphic designers, somebody please make a mock-up of the Chinook breeze. I need to see it.
Breeze.
She is this big. She is clear. Sea
But
glass.
she is powerful.
Yeah. One spritz is all you need. Well, you two, can you look into this
She'll blow you
camera?
away.
Can you look over here and just say, maybe just say we are Drag Out the Love and you are watching Queer in Alberta. Would you mind?
Yes.
All
This
right.
one?
Right over here, yes.
Where's my camera?
We are Drag Out the Love, and you're watching Queer in Alberta.
Yay!
Coming up next on Queer in Alberta.
So I just started looking at some of the qualities that I was really like drawn to and attracted to, and those tropes of like the dark poet, the wild adventurer.
You're such an artsy queer. Like, come on, the dark poet.
It's in my blood. I cannot shake it.